Emily Hart trusted her closest friend, Rachel Monroe, but that trust would cost her life in a shocking murder that left an entire town in fear. The small town of Willow Creek had always been the kind of place where everyone knew each other, and life moved at a calm, predictable pace. Children played in the streets until dusk. Neighbors exchanged waves over white picket fences, and the idea of violent crime felt like a story from another world. That illusion of safety vanished one crisp autumn morning when a passerby discovered something that would haunt the town for months. Inside her modest home, Emily Hart lay lifeless on the kitchen floor, her body surrounded by signs of struggle. Broken glass glinted in the morning sun that filtered through the windows, and overturned furniture hinted at a confrontation that had spiraled out of control. The scene was both shocking and mysterious. Nothing appeared to have been stolen, and there were no signs of forced entry. The house, once a symbol of comfort and normalcy, had transformed into a chilling tableau of violence. Emily Hart was a woman who had long fascinated the town. Her striking features and confident presence often made her the center of attention. She carried herself with a mix of charm and determination that drew people in, yet whispers of a hidden, complicated life followed her everywhere. Some remembered the occasional unexplained absences, sudden changes in friendships, or subtle clashes with acquaintances that hinted at tension beneath the surface. Most townspeople had dismissed these details, believing them trivial, but now they took on a far more ominous significance. Police quickly arrived at the scene, cordoning off the house and beginning a careful examination. Detectives struggled to understand how such a brutal event could have occurred without any immediate clues. It was as if someone had come into her life with a precision that left almost no trace, striking swiftly before vanishing without a trace. Friends and neighbors were questioned, their accounts revealing fragments of Emily's life that painted an increasingly complex picture. People recalled fleeting moments of anxiety or stress she had displayed, now magnified by the grim reality of her death. The investigation revealed a troubling truth. This was not a random act of violence. The killer had knowledge of Emily's habits, routines, and vulnerabilities, suggesting the danger came from someone within her circle. The town, once confident in its safety, now found itself gripped by fear. Everyone wondered who could harbor such dark intent, and the unsettling thought lingered. The person responsible might have been someone Emily trusted, someone living among them. All along, the quiet streets of Willow Creek had been forever changed, leaving a sense of unease that would shadow the town for years to come. Detective Laura Mitchell arrived at Emily Hart's house with a mix of curiosity and unease. She had faced many difficult cases before, but something about this one felt different. From the moment she stepped inside, the scene seemed almost staged. Small details that could have been overlooked were screaming for attention. A cup tipped over on the counter, fingerprints smeared across a knife handle, and a single chair pushed slightly away from the table suggested a struggle that had been both frantic and deliberate. Laura could tell immediately that the crime was personal. Whoever had done this had not only studied Emily, but had also allowed their emotions to flare into violence. Neighbors provided fragmented accounts. Some had heard muffled arguments late at night, though no one knew who was involved. A few mentioned seeing a woman arrive at the house hours before the tragedy, calm and purposeful, carrying herself in a way that seemed oddly familiar. Surveillance cameras from nearby streets captured fleeting images, but the footage was only enough to raise more questions. Who was this woman? Why had she entered Emily's home without forced entry? The answers seemed just out of reach, frustrating the investigators but also adding to the growing tension surrounding the case. As the investigation unfolded, Emily's digital life became a focal point. Messages on her phone and computer hinted at secret relationships and financial dealings that no one had known about. Some texts were cryptic, others threatening, and a few contained evidence of someone monitoring her movements. Each new revelation painted a portrait of Emily living a life far more complicated than the small-town image she had shown to the world. The deeper Laura dug, the more she realized that Emily's social circle might have contained the answer to the murder or the perpetrator herself. Detective Mitchell began piecing together patterns in Emily's interactions, looking for inconsistencies and hidden tensions. Friends and acquaintances were questioned repeatedly, with every small detail scrutinized. People who seemed trustworthy began to appear suspicious. Those who had seemed distant suddenly held potential motives. The investigation revealed how easily trust could mask danger. and how someone's outward charm could hide a darker personality. With each passing day, the mystery deepened. The combination of forensic evidence, witness accounts, and digital trails suggested a killer who was intelligent, patient, and intimately familiar with Emily's life. Detective Mitchell could sense the danger closing in on someone she would eventually identify, and a creeping tension settled over the town. Willow Creek, once peaceful, was now a place where suspicion and fear seeped into every interaction, leaving residents to wonder how well they truly knew the people around them. The chilling thought persisted. Someone close to Emily had orchestrated this crime, and their true intentions were only beginning to surface. The investigation took a startling turn when Detective Laura Mitchell and her team finally identified the woman captured on surveillance footage. Her name was Rachel Monroe, a close acquaintance of Emily Hart who had been part of her social circle for years. Rachel's presence in the neighborhood had always seemed ordinary, even friendly, but now every interaction she had with Emily took on a new, sinister meaning. Friends and neighbors began to recall moments that had seemed trivial before, small arguments, fleeting glances, and subtle tensions that had been dismissed at the time. Rachel's history revealed patterns that were deeply concerning. Though her criminal record had previously consisted of minor offenses, mostly petty thefts and public disturbances, the investigators discovered a trail of increasingly serious incidents. There were past reports of manipulative behavior, financial exploitation of acquaintances, and unexplained disappearances of people she associated with. It became clear that Rachel had a hidden side, one capable of calculated violence. Her outward charm and friendly demeanor had masked a dangerous personality, and now the full extent of her capacity for harm was emerging. Detectives began retracing Rachel's movements in the days leading up to Emily's death. They discovered that she had studied Emily's routines carefully, noting when she left the house, whom she interacted with, and what precautions she took in her daily life. The level of planning indicated a premeditated attack rather than a crime of impulse. Rachel had exploited Emily's trust, moving through the town unnoticed while preparing for a violent confrontation. Every detail of the murder, the timing, the method, and the escape spoke to a careful and deliberate strategy. As the investigation progressed, the motive behind the crime remained a troubling mystery. Was it jealousy over a friendship, a financial dispute, or something darker and more personal? Each new piece of evidence hinted at obsession and control, suggesting that Rachel's desire to dominate Emily's life had escalated to fatal proportions. Detectives realized that Emily's death was the culmination of months, perhaps years, of manipulation and planning. The revelation that Rachel Monroe, someone who had lived among them undetected, could commit such a crime sent shockwaves through Willow Creek. The town struggled to reconcile her seemingly ordinary appearance with the evidence of her dangerous nature. The sense of safety that residents had once taken for granted evaporated almost overnight, replaced by fear and suspicion. The community began to see familiar faces in a new light, realizing that evil could be concealed behind a smile and that trust could be deadly. Forensic investigators uncovered evidence that painted a chilling portrait of premeditation and calculation. In Emily Hart's home, every detail seemed carefully manipulated. Fingerprints were found in unusual places, suggesting Rachel Monroe had touched objects deliberately to mislead investigators. Hair samples matched Rachel, and traces of chemicals on the kitchen floor indicated that she had prepared for the attack in advance. It was as if every step had been planned with precision, from the moment she arrived until the moment she left, leaving minimal evidence while inflicting maximum harm. Detective Laura Mitchell pieced together a timeline of the crime, revealing the methodical nature of Rachel's actions. She had observed Emily's daily routines, noting when she would be alone and vulnerable. The attack itself was swift and controlled, yet it left just enough disorder to give the appearance of a chaotic struggle. Forensics suggested that Rachel had anticipated Emily's movements, cornering her at a time when escape was impossible. The meticulous planning demonstrated a dangerous intelligence, a calculated patience that made the crime all the more terrifying. The town of Willow Creek struggled to come to terms with the revelation. People who had interacted with Rachel expressed disbelief, unable to reconcile her calm, friendly exterior with the violent act she had committed. Social media erupted with theories and speculation, as neighbors shared stories of past interactions that now seemed sinister in retrospect. Many wondered how a person so deeply embedded in their community could conceal such lethal intentions. The very fabric of trust in the town was beginning to unravel. Rachel herself remained unnervingly composed during the investigation. When questioned, she offered no explanation, her silence a calculated shield that only heightened suspicions. Experts analyzing her behavior concluded that she was manipulative, cunning, and capable of extreme violence without remorse. Each revelation about her past and her planning of Emily's murder painted a portrait of someone who had carefully hidden her true nature from everyone around her. As the pieces of the case fell into place, Detective Mitchell realized the danger Rachel represented extended beyond Emily. She was a person capable of repeating such acts, concealing her motives behind charm and familiarity. Willow Creek, once peaceful, had been forced to confront the frightening reality that danger could live quietly among them, invisible until it struck. The discovery of Rachel's meticulous preparations and the calculated nature of the crime left the town shaken, a stark reminder that evil can lurk behind the most ordinary faces, and that trust can be the deadliest vulnerability of all. The trial of Rachel Monroe became the most talked about event in Willow Creek's history. Courtrooms were filled with journalists, residents, and experts, all eager to witness the moment when the woman who had shattered their sense of safety would face justice. From the very beginning, Rachel remained composed, her calm demeanor unnerving everyone present. Her ability to sit silently while the evidence mounted against her only reinforced the image of a calculating, dangerous individual. The prosecution presented a detailed account of the crime, drawing from forensic evidence, surveillance footage, and witness statements. Each piece of information revealed more about the meticulous planning Rachel had employed. Experts testified about her manipulative tendencies, her history of escalating criminal behavior, and her calculated approach to isolating and controlling Emily Hart. The narrative that unfolded painted a chilling picture. Rachel had not acted impulsively. She had planned the murder with precision, exploiting her victim's trust and understanding her routines to ensure success. Witnesses described subtle interactions with Rachel that, in hindsight, seemed to foreshadow the tragedy. Friends recalled moments of intimidation masked as concern, veiled threats hidden within casual conversation, and fleeting arguments that had left a lingering sense of unease. Every detail contributed to the growing realization that Rachel had carefully crafted an image that concealed her true intentions. The jury, along with the public observing from outside the courtroom, was confronted with the terrifying truth that evil could be hidden behind a familiar face, disguised in charm and social grace. As the trial progressed, the motives behind the murder were explored but never fully clarified. Analysts speculated that jealousy, obsession, and a desire for control had driven Rachel to commit the crime. Yet, even with these theories, the extent of her planning and the coldness of her actions left everyone questioning how someone could carry out such a violent act against someone they supposedly knew. The courtroom atmosphere was tense, the weight of the evidence undeniable, and the community's collective shock palpable. In the end, Rachel Monroe was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. The verdict brought a sense of closure, yet the impact of her actions lingered. Willow Creek had been forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. Danger can exist in plain sight, and appearances can be deceiving. Families became more cautious, neighbors more observant, and the town as a whole carried the memory of Emily Hart's tragic death. The story of a dangerous woman living among them, carefully hiding her deadly intent, became a lasting cautionary tale, a reminder that trust, while essential to community, can sometimes conceal unimaginable evil.